And you're back. I see you. Okay.
Look at that,
winner.
man. Rock and roll. How you do landscape? Yeah, landscape. Right?
Whatever you're most comfortable with.
See, I was thinking about laying down on the floor, but now since we're doing video, man, I gotta sit up and be civilized.
I mean, if you want to both lay down on the floor, we could do that too. So.
Yeah, my studio's pokey, but I don't get any it's you get better sound quality because it's dead. All the audio's dead in here, so it's much easier. Because like when I'm out at restaurants and the room's not properly treated, like I get very anxious. Like airports are like that. You get echoes everywhere, man, and it drives me mad. Like I like, you know, I don't like sound traveling everywhere, you know.
No, that's not any fun, is it?
Have you ever been to Trader Joe's?
Yeah, of course.
They're terrible, man. It's a nice shop. They have nice things in there. But I feel like I might get a panic attack because every one I've been to, I think it's I don't know what it is. It's the lighting. They have some kind of really crazy lighting, man. Like Whole Foods is a little tamer. You can walk around there for a while. But inside of Trader Joe's, it's like this high electric, crazy intensity light. Ultra fluorescent white. It's insane, man. You might get seizures in there.
Is not a fan.
What's that?
Yeah, so it kind of triggers you a bit. You're not a fan of getting into Trader Joe's.
Yeah. Like the shop would be great if they just changed the lighting.
Yeah.
Because it's very affordable. It's nice. I mean, I haven't been in years, but the few times I've been in, it's, oh, Jesus. And I've been in ones in California, in New York, New Jersey. No, man. So everyone I've been to, so I'm assuming it's something they do on a national level. That lighting.
Where are you located right now?
I'm the studio's just outside of Manhattan. I could see Manhattan from the second floor of my apartment. I'm just on the Hudson River.
And you've been in Brooklyn for a while, right?
No, I just grew up there.
Okay, so then you got out and you ended up back in the area.
Yeah. I've been all over the shop since I was a kid. I don't think I've ever lived anywhere more than a couple of years. You know?
Yeah. And your mom raised you in the Soviet Union, is that right?
I mean, my mom is like the only kind of constant family member I had contact with throughout. But yeah, she had me there, but I moved with my dad in the 80s, like late 80s. I moved to Australia with him. Jesus, I'm getting messages. I moved to Australia for a minute till my mom remarried, and then she's like, well, we're gonna move to the States, you know. She married a Jewish fella, right? So at the time, in the 80s, they were letting Jews out as political refugees. So she saw that as an out, you know. She's like, because the only thing she worried about is me serving in the army, because I guess like the Soviet army would be a little might be more dangerous than like a prison here, you know. So she didn't want it for me. So she was like, yeah, you could Australia, anywhere but here. And I remember I was like 8 years old, and because the political refugee process, man, it takes a minute. So you have to go to all these points, to all these safe haven countries. So the first stop was Austria. And I remember the Israelis were right there. They're like, shalom. And you don't have to wait through anything. We'll because they were just absorbing everyone that was escaping at the time. My mom said, no, we're not going to Israel because mandatory army, you know. She's like, no, not happening. So that was her thing. Like, just, she didn't want me wind up in the army fighting people.
Did you have any interest in ending up in the army, or I mean?
I mean, when I was very little, I was into submarines and stuff, and I had military relatives, officers and stuff in my family. So I thought it was a noble cause, but when you're little, you don't realize the bureaucracy and the disregard for life, you know. You see the pretty uniforms, man. I still wear a lot of army fatigues and stuff. I'm drawn to that stuff on an aesthetic level, but I couldn't shoot a fella in the head. I wouldn't be into that, you know. And then the abuse too, you know. because I suppose, you know, I suppose the Army's nice in the States. You know, you get all these perks. You get USAA insurance for life for all your family. You get crazy benefits. People look after your health. And people complain here that the veterans aren't looked after, but they're looked after a lot better than most other places here, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot worse also.
I don't know. I'm not much of a fighter, man. I'm not into that.
I'm there with you, so
I guess I'm a mama's boy. She didn't want me fighting, so I'm not fighting, you know. But yes, I wound up in Brooklyn, like I guess '89, and but yeah, we just kept moving every couple of years, just wherever her work was and stuff. I went to 3 different high schools, you know.
I know the feeling. I grew up, I went to a lot of different schools. I mean, until high school, I didn't go to one school for more than 2 years. So I was always the new kid.
You were always getting your ass beat. Me too, man.
I never got in any fights or anything, but, you know, I was definitely a loner and, you know, bookworm, and I wasn't good at making friends back then, you know? And so,
yes.
yeah. So now for my kids, it's like, that's important for me. I'm divorced, but, you know, keeping a constant, you know, for them and keeping them in one location is super important, you know.
Yes.
Have
That was a big deal for me too, man. I was trying to start a family, and I was thinking like, well, a house is important. This is important. And I was thinking Ireland would be a great place, you know, have the kids be a little less materialistic, but still be in a Western kind of European environment without the second and third world kind of problems. I just thought it would be a much better alternative. And, you know, and just the way the healthcare is set up, I just thought this was lovely. It'd be lovely to have kids in Ireland, you know. But now that, like, you know, I'm just back to being a gypsy. I'm thinking like I live in this place, and I just don't think I need to own a place. I think it's just, you know, if you don't have kids, man, it's just as cheap to live in a hotel, the way property taxes are in this country and all that, you know.
Yeah.
I can just get back to that. Like before the COVID, I was just thinking, Jesus, I'll go back on the road, just sell everything and just live on the road for a couple of years, you know?
Yeah. And so how has it been for you, especially being in such a populated area, like with COVID? Like, how has this really affected you?
I don't know if it has, man. I get lonely, but I get lonely anyway. Just me and the cat, man, you know? Like our menstrual cycles have synced up, you know? Just me and the boy.
Times.
Yeah, man. Well, he's a Sphinx, right? So we got very similar hair distribution. He's unusual for a Sphinx because he has some fur, but kind of like me, he's got hair on his arms and legs, on his chest, and facial hair. And he's got a couple of sprouts on his back, man. So we're like twins. He's like a mini me.
Yeah.
The cat and I, man. So.
He's your pal.
Yeah. Moving back here was a good idea too, because my mom's not too far away. So she pops over every couple of weeks. It's really, you know, it's better than not having any human contact at all.
Oh, for sure. And so tell me about your musical taste growing up. You know, was your mom a big influence on you?
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. I remember when I was really little, my dad had like 2-inch tape, reel to reel, that he used to, I don't know how. Was that even a thing? Because I remember hearing Beatles records, Tom Jones of all things. I remember being played. But like, could you get stuff on reel-to-reel tape, or were they dubbing this? I don't even know how he had reel-to-reel tapes of commercial records. I didn't know that was a thing. You know, looking back on it now, it's a bit surreal. But he played music on his reel-to-reel. And I guess I was like 8 years old when I wound up in Italy, and I remember buying Italian bootlegs at like the market. You know, I wasn't buying them. My mom was buying them for me, but I got like an Elton John tape, a John Lennon tape. I was picking them out based on the album covers. I didn't really have much of a taste in music.
Well, you lucked into a couple of good artists there.
Yeah. And then there was a pharmacy in Brooklyn, man, that they used to have like $1 tape bin. And I got lucky there too. You buy classical music because no one ever wanted that. So I got a lot of classical cassettes and jazz. Got Porgy and Bess there. I got this pretty obscure film soundtrack that Ray Davies did that I still like to this day. Well, I like a couple of songs off it. But I got, you know, that's how I got into the Kinks and Ray Davies. It's called Return to Waterloo.
Okay.
I think the film, I think it was 85 it came out. And I look, you know, when the internet came out, then I got curious and I'm like, what is this film? Because I had the cassette from Jump. And I think it was like one of Tim Roth's first films, you know. It was like made for TV. I don't think it was more than an hour long. But it's a pretty obscure thing. Like most people, like the Waterloo Sunset people know, but what's this Return to Waterloo? But yeah, it was a Ray Davies record and it was a soundtrack record.
Gotcha. And so at what point did you start making music, and did you know that that was something that you were really passionate about?
Yeah, I get, you know, I always wanted to do music, man. Probably people told me like, well, you because I could draw, you know, I got a mean freehand, you know, so people told me I should focus on more visual things when I was a little kid. But you know, I was also told I was tone deaf to avoid music at all costs, you know, but I didn't listen. And
so what pushed you back against that? Like, you know, when you get that feedback and you're like, you can't even hear tone. Like, okay, so what, you know, what made you want to drive forward amidst that feedback?
I don't know. I have no idea what possessed me to. I'm still not sure this is the right choice, you know, but it is what it is at this point. I can't, in my 40s now, I can't go back to school and learn accounting or I don't know what job I would be able to do, you know.
Yeah.
So it is what it is at this point, but I don't know what if there was a pushback or what. I just wanted to do it and I just did it, you know. You get pretty hyper when you're a kid. You just do things. I mean, I got a 4-track in like '94. My mom bought it for me, and I just locked myself away for weeks at a time, just playing with that. I borrow instruments from people, and yeah, I have boxes of cassette tapes from those days, man. Well, I'd be curious to go through some of them now, but I don't know. I doubt there's anything worth releasing, but it could be something worth sampling.
Yeah.
Could be just fun textures, man. It's you know, tape is interesting. Tape has an interesting quality to it. CDs were just so expensive in the '90s. I didn't want to, you know, didn't have the money, and I don't think they sound that cool. So I went straight from you know, cassette, vinyl to MP3 is just the accessibility and the ability to store all the music. When the whole Napster thing happened and all the music, you could download music, kind of blew my mind. But I just, to this day, I don't really like CDs very much, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And was your mom supportive when you were starting out and kind of starting to make music and everything? She, you know, she got behind you with that?
Oh, we had a pretty difficult relationship. Like, you know, we gotten closer over, like, more recently, I'd say, you know. Yeah, had a pretty confusing childhood, man. But she's always been supportive of me, and she's always been kind to me, but we didn't have access to each other as much as we would have liked, you know. And like, I didn't get to meet my dad until I was well in my 30s either, like, so I had a long disconnect from him. So it's just been in the last, in the last few years, it's really great because we speak every couple of months, and I try to he moved back to Ukraine, so I pop over to him. I try to pop over once a year. I kind of messed it up last year, and then the COVID hit, so I didn't get to see my dad, man. But he's getting up there and he's blind, so I got, you know, as soon as they open up the borders, I'm gonna hop over and you know, spend some time with him.
And how did meeting him go? Like, how did that come about so late in life at this point?
Well, you know, I never had any ill feelings. Like, I love my dad. He's a lovely guy, but we just, you know, just getting spread out all over the world. You know, I got family. I don't have a big family, and the family I do have, they're all in like 4 different countries. So I guess when I first came to Ireland, man, so when I first started talking and working with Dolores, it was right after her dad passed away, you know. And it was a traumatic thing for her, obviously, as it should be, you know. So, and she found out, she found out my dad was alive, and she just took it upon herself to reconnect us, you know. And she started phoning him, and built a relationship up gradually. And then one day we just flew out and surprised him, man, you know. And then it turned into a tradition every year.
Yeah. It sounds like, I mean, from what I've heard and what you're, you know, just from what you're saying, I mean, she would be a pretty big impact in your life, right? Like, I mean.
Yeah, man. You know, she reconnected me with my family, made me closer with everyone in my family. And also I gained the advantage of her family. Like all of a sudden my family just quadrupled, you know, because we're talking a Soviet kind of nuclear family that's already fractured through divorce and various issues. But then you got, on the other side of that, you got an Irish family, which is like, man, I don't even know how many nieces and nephews are out there, man, you know. But it was coming over to Ireland was weird on so many levels, just seeing that kind of family and how it was a culture shock. And then seeing stars for the first time. I've never been outside the city ever in my life. I've always been in like kind of big cities. So I remember seeing that. That was another big shock, is seeing stars in the sky, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a mystical experience, to be sure, you know.
Yeah.
Especially coming over November, that time of year, man, you got this fog, and it stays green all year round because it's so wet. But the perennial trees that would lose their leaves, they're still green. They just look haunted because they got ivy all up the branches, you know. So they're still green. They just turn like more kind of cryptic looking. You could just the odd shapes of the branches without leaves, just covered in ivy.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Dark and how that came about. And I mean, did it build off of your relationship with Dolores, or where did it kind of start?
It started with demos that Andy and I were working on, you know, and you know, I guess we never planned anything kind of to do anything magnificent, or you know, we were just having fun with, and just recording stuff, and I was just getting back into my groove and starting to write again. I was DJing for a minute, and I had some personal issues. I just didn't see myself doing music again. But Andy was a positive influence, man. He was just like, yeah, let's just do this, let's do that. And I think we even did a music video at some point. And we worked in radio together, and we were, you know, we're just boys, man, just good friends. And I just got a call from him one day, say, you know, Dolores is, you know, would you be into sending her some demos? Like, she's curious and all this. I didn't pay it much mind. I sent over some demos, you know, and I only had a handful of instrumentals. And I said, Andy, this is gonna take me a minute to get you instrumentals for her. So I sent over some tracks that had my vocals on it, you know. And I didn't think of it again until I got a call from her. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was a bit confused. You know, she rang me, and she basically just said, you know, I'll be singing with you. I'm the new singer, and got your number from Andy, that kind of thing, you know. And she started. She was into my vocals and some of the lyrics and stuff. And she just said, I'm looking forward to this, you know. And then we stayed in touch, and we worked over the phone and over email for a few months before we actually met face to face, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the you know, the initial interest was because she's a big Smiths fan. She was a big Smiths fan, you know. I was in high school as well, but and I thought I knew all the lyrics, you know. Morrissey's a pretty clever lyricist, But yeah, she's a better singer than me, and a better singer than Morrissey, and she knew the lyrics better, you know.
Yeah.
So we used to geek out about that. It's just a fun thing we did, you know.
Yeah.
Having sing songs. I think there's even recordings of us somewhere doing a cover of Big Mouth, you know.
Yeah. And so being a Smiths fan growing up, I mean, and then, you know, going to the point where you're starting a band with Andy, was it kind of like, you know, meeting your hero in a sense? Tell me about that feeling and kind of how that transposed, you know, building upon your relationship there.
Yeah, like I don't get overly excited about, I don't like judge people based on their accomplishments or success or anything. I just clicked with Andy because that's Andy. I actually met Mike Joyce first, the Smiths drummer, and he's a lovely guy too. And then over the years I've met Johnny, you know, and I can get along with people. But Andy was just different, just on a human level. He's just someone that I could click with, and we wound up keeping in touch, and we just became friends. You know, it was a little weird sometimes when you think about it. Wow, you know, because I did, you know, I did know all of his bass lines, and I was a huge fan, you know. And after meeting him, I was still young. I was like 23 when we met. So I would have just been coming off that wave. And of course, in high school, I would have been paying attention more to the lyrics. But as I was becoming a player, I kind of became really obsessed with what him and Johnny were doing, just that pocket and just the craft of it. I became more impressed with the band as a band and less so of as a phenomenon, but just strictly technically as a band. I thought I've rediscovered that side of it and just said, wow, this is brilliant musically speaking. Just technically speaking, this is, you know, like growing up, like I'd learned to play Beatles songs, man. I can't play too many Smith songs. That stuff will break your fingers, you know.
Yeah.
They're not easy to play. They sound pretty cute and simple, but they're not, you know, they're really good musicians.
Yeah. And you bonded with Andy over like Bowie, right? Like, I mean, you had a mutual love for Bowie.
Oh yeah, we liked a lot of the same stuff, you know. I mean, that was a cool thing, discovering that someone who's a few years older than you and has done something interesting with their life and their career, and then you realize, yeah, well, you know, he's just a dude listening to the radio just like I am, and then we have a lot of things we like in common. But I remember when I first met him, I gave him a CD. I was working on actually a hip hop record, you know. And we were just geeking out in the hotel room, listening to just playing each other music. I said, man, I'm getting this track mixed right now, and it's got a sample of Sinead O'Connor, and it's got a sample of Ella Fitzgerald in it. And it's, you know, it's kind of a boom bap kind of hip hop track, but it was a clever use of sampling, and he liked it, man. He asked for the CD. And I said, all right, well, I can make myself, this is back in the CD days. I said, I'll make myself another copy. And I wrote my number on that CD, and we just kept in touch after that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about MMXX, or do you call it 2020?
Yeah. It just, I guess, yeah, Koretsky 2020, man. I just didn't know what to name it. So I thought that was the simplest thing. I guess MMXX is a stylistic thing, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Makes me think of Mickey Mouse, makes me think of Mexico. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, all right. And you recorded one of the videos. Actually, you recorded the video for Signs of Life in Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just saying I really dig Mexico, man. We were out there. We did a few gigs with the Cranberries, and I got to explore the peninsula a little bit, man. Got to drive around, you know, Cancun in itself. I don't know if it's very exciting. It's more of a tourist spot, but just getting out there and seeing the local cities on that side. And I'm like, well, I have to come back. And I met people there that are from Mexico City and various parts of Mexico. And I got really excited about coming back there. So when I got a hold of a director that was based out there, it was accidental. It wasn't planned. But when he told me he's based in Cuernavaca, I said, "That's brilliant, man. I'll be in Mexico City in a few days, man. I'll meet you out there." Because I just kind of had that seed planted that I needed to go back because I really fell in love with it, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Right. And you got Tina Christina to come out to Mexico as well for the video. I mean, tell me kind of about, you know, that experience. I know this was a difficult song for you. So like, just tell me kind of how it came together in that capacity.
Yeah, man, she's a lovely girl. And I met her through Andy. There's a spot in New York called New Blue. If I didn't meet her there, but it was through there, because that's where all the talent is, man. All, like, if you run into musicians that are well known and or at least well respected by other musicians, it's just it's a great resource, man. Just there's talent there. There's always talent there. There's always people jamming. I'm not one of these. I can't hang with these guys. I'm like a fake musician, you know. You get some serious talent out there, people that could roll in hard. And I knew her as a bass player, and but I wasn't too familiar with her work. But I knew she played with some really cool people, and she had a lovely energy about her. And I found out she could sing, and that was an eye opener. And so I started writing Signs of Life, man. Like, I guess it was during the Cranberries tour, like 2017, and I had the vocal melody and I had the progression. It's I mean, you could recycle progressions left and right. It's all about like hitting the vocal melody, which I kind of did. And I had a different harmony for the chorus, and Tina kind of changed it a bit. And I'm not sure how I feel about it to this day, but she did a wonderful job otherwise, man. I might re-record it with the original harmony that I wrote, but she blew it out the park, man. She killed it.
Yeah.
Regardless. I think it sounds nice regardless. But so, and I was kind of sitting on the song. I didn't want to show it to anybody, you know, because I didn't, like, I was planning for that to be a dark song, and Dolores was well aware of it, and she was waiting for me to finish the lyrics, because she basically said, you know, either I come up with my own lyrics, but I like where your melody's going, but if you're gonna stick to your melody, you need to like really map this out properly, you know. And I could tweak it here and there, but I need a finished song to start wrapping my head around. So, but I never finished the lyrics, you know, while she was alive. And I kind of did right around the time that Tina's brother passed away, which was, you know, less than a year after. And so it was just, it was a very sad story, but that's kind of when I sent her the demo, you know. Yeah. And the lyrics clicked with her, and she got back to me and she said, you know, I'm kind of moved by this, and I just said, okay, you know what, the next step is let's just record it and let's put it out. And that was that, you know.
Yeah. And so for you, how does it feel to have that out in the world now? Because it is such a personal song for you, and there's a lot of attachment on multiple levels there. So, I mean, does it feel like a release, or, I mean, tell me a little bit about, you know, what you're experiencing.
I was worried about putting these songs out because you know, it's hard to gauge what the reality is of what someone else's perception might be. So it felt really personal and raw, you know, all these songs. And I was kind of sweating about, oh, what will someone think, or what will someone read into this? And but then you realize, man, people aren't thinking about you that much. It's just not a big deal. Just let it go. The whole idea behind putting any of this out was just, I just felt kind of out of touch and stifled and sad, and I just wanted to do something, just for the sake of doing something. I wasn't trying to fulfill anything. It wasn't a great artistic vision. I just literally needed to pick myself up out the gutter, you know, and just to do something.
Yeah. do you try to always write from like a personal place like that? Or is it like therapeutic, or do you
No,
fictionalize?
I don't try anything. I don't actually make an effort. I actually I try to dance around personal things. Certainly everything's informed by some kind of experience in your life. Otherwise, they wouldn't, you know. But I actually tend to lean towards abstractions, and I try to stay away from being too literal with anything. And Dolores and I used to talk about this a lot. She, you know, because she was very much, her heart was very much on her sleeve. You know, her lyrics were just so direct and so, like just a reflection of, just like a mirror reflection of her life. You know, where I don't know. It's just whether it's a different approach or it's just I'm not as confident as she was. You know, and I'm just not able to be that open. I don't know what it is, but I'll avoid getting too personal.
Yeah.
Like I was paranoid that these songs were too personal, and they're really not. They're just songs, and sure they're a little sad, but whatever, you know, it's just songs, and no one's paying it that much mind. I'm overthinking it in my head, worried about people. What is, you know, oh, what if someone hears this and thinks this? And man, you shouldn't worry about that. But yeah, it's my own affliction, man. It's my limitation. I have to deal with it.
And so you're not concerned about like when everything clears up and being able to perform, you know, the song live, you know, being too kind of emotional or anything like that. You're
Nah,
able
yeah. The like the that's when the murderous instinct kicks in when you get on stage, man. It's just execution point. It's just execution time, man. And I've already mapped this out. I already know how everything's gonna work. You know, I perform with live musicians and backing tracks. I've done both extremes, all live, all backing tracks. And ultimately, I prefer to have the combination of the both because I'm really into my electronic elements and influences, man. But I'm like, when it comes to live, man, there's no emotion. It's just straight execution. At that point, all that goes out the window. It's just, you know, how do we deliver this? And I'm already thinking about my mix engineer side stage for my in-ear monitors. I'm thinking about who's doing front of house. I'm thinking about the routing. I'm thinking about the stage plot and how many people on stage and how many hotel rooms to pay for, you know?
Yeah. And so have you, I mean, having toured with done a couple tours with the Cranberries, I think, right? Like, have you kept up with the other members of the band after, you know, after everything transpired?
Not really, you know. I mean, a little bit on like social media and stuff, enough to say hello. But it you know, I was a little like when they got the Grammy nomination for the last record we did. I was a little worried about going out to LA, but it was more about I was worried because Dolores and I used to live there, you know. So I was more worried about my emotional reaction. But I'm glad I went because it's kind of, you make a new memory and you attach a new memory to that. So it'll be easier going back the next time, you know. But when I saw the Lads, man, it was just like it just picked up where it left off. It was just, you know, joking, and it was just so normal and natural. There was no, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't weird at all. We just picked it up, and it was a lovely week, you know. And then, but yeah, we don't like chat on the phone or anything. We're on good terms. We're on good terms.
Good. And I think I read somewhere you're planning on making like meditation music. Is that right? Like, do you meditate a lot?
I did for, yeah, I mean, I have on and off for many years. And I guess since I started doing this project now, I kind of got off of it, which is really bad. So now I'm pounding coffee. I started smoking a little bit. I'm kind of edgy. But yeah, man, after Dolores died, I kind of had to, and I got back into like my Kundalini practice, which I hadn't done since my early 20s, because it's very much like taking drugs without taking drugs. It's a very kind of, it's a very effective tool to change your perspective and to just to change your I guess the quality of, you know, of your perception without taking drugs, without becoming an alcoholic. It's just it's a good trick to have up your sleeve, you know.
Yeah. And so tell me about kind of your process as you're thinking about making, you know, meditation music. That's something you are still thinking about doing, is that right?
I am. I would love to do it. I just kind of, you know, but what happens is once you start working on something, then all of a sudden things come at you. So I'm starting to get calls about, oh, would you mix this track, or would you play guitar on this? And then I'm like, okay, well, you got to prioritize. But yeah, I would absolutely love to do meditation music. I'm a big fan of a composer called Angelo Badalamenti, man, and I'm lucky enough to know him and be in contact with him a little bit. He's a lovely man, you know. But I was kind of, but he would inspire me in that way, because a lot of his music is quite ambient and ethereal, and it's spiritual to me. I see it in a very spiritual light. I'm a big fan of his, and I could see myself trying to emulate him, you know.
Yeah.
He's one of my heroes, sonically speaking, you know. He's brilliant.
Yeah. And so kind of as we wind down here, I want to ask you, you know, about times you've played in the Bay Area. Do you remember what venues you've played?
No, I never played the Bay Area.
You haven't played the Bay Area?
Never, man. We mixed the Science Agrees record in Marin, Marin County, man. So I love the Bay, and that was the first time I went up in 2015. That was the first time I went up since I was a teenager, man, and it was really cool. And I find San Francisco really cold. It's just windy and cold and weird, but you get up north, you get towards Sonoma, Marin, and it's just lovely. All winter, you get a little more greenery in the winter too, don't you? It's like a kind of reverse effect, because the summer kind of dries everything out, yellows it.
Yeah, I mean, most of the hills are usually pretty brown. You know, if you're lucky and you get a wet winter, you know, you'll see some green. You're like, oh, that's what they're supposed to look like, right? But
yes.
But I mean, I guess that's why I'm probably so infatuated with like Ireland and Australia and that sort of thing, right? I've never left the country as an adult, but I got my passport right as all this was hitting, and as figures I won't be able to use it for who knows how long, but it's finally warming up to the idea of leaving. You know, I mean, I have kids, so it's there.
Yes. But you know, you're very near to the American Northwest and Vancouver, and I find that very similar to Ireland and all that, you know, because it doesn't get cold, it doesn't get hot, and it just stays a little muggy, a little green, you know. It's got very similar vibes, I find. It's got a mystical thing going on there too.
Yeah, you've been there though?
Just passing through, yeah, I think is beautiful. But the only difference to me, I feel like the skies in Europe are much smaller. And living in Ireland, I find I felt a little bit like I loved it on one hand, but on the other hand, I felt that I was in a small place. I felt like, well, if I accelerated the car right now, I'd be in the ocean soon, you know. There's a vastness about North America and Canada. I just find the skies, the feeling of the skies being just further away, it's more expansive feeling. Where in Europe, and then you get this other effect where in most of Central Europe, you'd have overcast skies, except for like an hour in the morning, like most of the winter and fall, and you know, just you only get the clear blue skies really in the summer. So that kind of brings the sky even a little bit lower, and the trees just feel shorter, and you just feel it just feels smaller, man.
Yeah, no, I can see that. So
there's a wild expanse, and there's something primordial in North America, man. Just, you know, driving around like upstate New York, Ontario, and Midwest, it's just the expansiveness of the skies, man. And regardless of what natural landscape you're in, whether it's the desert or the forest or the mountains, man, it's just there's something very expansive and open about here geographically.
Yeah.
And the geography can inform, man. If you got 2 kids?
I do, yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant, man. That's so cool.
Boy and a girl, yep. 10-year-old girl, she, you know, I tell you, you know, they're both great, but they challenge me in different ways. Let's say.
Are they on Instagram already?
No, I don't do that. No, my daughter goes to school also, so I try. I mean, they they push back against technology, except things are kind of different now, obviously,
Yes.
with schooling and everything. But you know, so she doesn't have her own phone or anything like that. You know, she has this little device called a relay where, you know, she just got it like a month or so ago, and she can send like a 30-second message to her mom or me or grandma, or, you know, whoever's
Oh,
in there.
cool, cool. Like a
But it's
voice
not,
memo, like a WhatsApp kind of thing. Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
smart.
So, to start, but I'm pushing back on the devices as long as possible. She'll have more than enough time for that. And I don't.
That's smart, man. And it looks beautiful where you are, man. It looks
Oh,
really nice.
I'm in Napa, yeah,
Oh,
Nevada.
that's lovely. Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful place for kids, man.
yeah. Luckily we have a good amount of space for them to run around and be kids amidst all this. I mean, there's a lot of horrible, aspects to it, and it's going to impact their childhood. You know, it's really going to be a detriment to them and all kids, right? I mean, like, what is it gonna look like? But at least they have some room to run around and be safe. So be thankful for that.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful. God bless you.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve. Man, it was lovely to chat with you, and it was good to see your face because I wasn't sure how we were gonna do this. And it's nice, man. You have a nice, kind energy about you, man.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I like doing the video. I mean, typically we, interview bands at concerts. It's, concert pipeline. So we try and feature bands, that are coming through the Bay Area, whoever's coming through. And not so
Well,
many
I'll
artists.
make sure to come through, man. I'll make sure to come through.
Come on through and hit me up when you do. Yeah, we'll get through this, and we'll, play a show in the Bay Area.
Yeah. I'm ready. I got all my gear ready to go. I got musicians ready to go because we were looking at doing a couple of festivals in Europe this summer, right before everything kind of blew up. And yeah, I'm ready, man. I got soldiers. I got soldiers in Europe. I got soldiers in America. People ready to go. So we were ready to go, so there's no reason not to as soon as the opportunity rears its head,
Yeah. Well, I hope you get a chance to play 2020 live, in the not too distant future, because there's some great songs.
2021. There's no rush, man, and there'll be more releases too. I got music. This was just a way for me to just get out there, and I can't be isolated for this long. So this is a way for me to meet people like you, and this is a way for me to interact with people online, at least, if nothing else. I was hoping to do gigs, but there's no rush, man. There's no rush, and there's plenty more music to come.
And you're feeling a lot more positive about like the music. I know you had to take a break for a while, and that totally makes sense. But you feel like you're back in it. You're connecting with it and everything.
Yeah. And there's even older material that I'm able to go through. Because there's so many recordings done over the past 6 years, and I wasn't in the state of mind where I could look at photographs, even never mind look at song mixes.
Yeah.
So I'm in a different place now. I'm able to have positive memories and laugh now, which is pretty recent. This has all started happening in the past 8 months or so.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm really glad for that, especially amidst where we're at right now. It's important for us to be positive and see what we got in front of.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going through a renaissance, man. So none of this, whatever's going out in the world, is not affecting me at all because I'm having my own internal becoming process, man. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic, man. And I just spreading the love and just trying to, just as long as we're kind to one another, everything's gonna pan out just fine.
Yeah, you gotta look out for each other. That's what it is. So
that's it, man. We're all brothers and sisters, man. That's it. That's all we could do is take personal responsibility how we treat the next man and the next woman.
Yeah. Well, I thank you again for taking the time, and I hope you.
Cheers, Steve. God bless, man. Thank you so much.
You have a great one. Okay.
All right, we stay in touch. God bless you. Bye.